wanted to do a video on the day of my cardiac arrest, which was March 31st. Uh, you know, only 24 hours earlier than that day, that kind of everything changed for me. I had one of the best workouts ever at the Y. I mean, it was just that was that good of a workout. You know, sometimes you go to a Y and say, this was a good workout. So I wake up March 31st and like a normal day. And what Pat and I usually do, I'll get our coffee ready and we'll have a cup or two. And it's crazy to think, like, so for a long time, I've been putting 100% cocoa in our coffee to aid in circulation. And I also put chia seeds in the coffee, supposed to help with cholesterol. So we do a lot of healthy things. But that day started out having our coffee and a piece of toast, and we were talking about what we're going to do, and we were going to go into town and do some shopping. At the last minute, I said, why don't I cut the grass? I haven't cut the grass yet this year. So it wasn't going to take too long because all I do is the front and the side. I don't do the back. So I decided to do that. And all I remember on cutting the grass was, it took me like 10, 15 times to start that mower. It's a pull start because it's the first start of the year. Crazy hard. I know that was tough. I was so happy when this thing started. So I have no recollection of cutting the grass. But I cut the front and I started cutting the side. I usually finish doing the side, but for some reason I stopped and I decided to come in and get some water. Later I found out, I waved to a couple of my neighbors. I waved to a neighbor across the street. I waved to another one that was walking her dog, but I didn't remember any of that. But I came and I sat exactly where I'm sitting right now, talking to Pat across from me. And we were just saying, hey, we'll still go out, still go do some shopping. I'm almost done. We talked, she said it was about 10 minutes again. I remember none of this. And I said, well, let me go and finish. So as I got up to finish, I fell right here. And for some reason, I fell on my back, which is probably helpful. And I'm thankful for Pat knowing her CPR before the first responders got here. I'm so, I thank God for the first responders, which was a fire truck, a police car too, the EMTs obviously. I'm thankful for all the work they've done on me, they did on me here. I'm thankful to the local hospital, which is less than 10 minutes away, and what they did. I realize now, I learned later, they have shot me 6 times. But I'm thankful for all of that. Then they prepared me to get me to the Heart Institute, which is about an hour away from here. I would have gotten a helicopter ride, they said, but the weather was bad. So they took me via ambulance, which is like about an hour. And when I think about that, it's sad for me because my family obviously had to follow and everybody's going. And they knew I was alive at this point, but they had no idea, because I was critical, but they had no idea if I would be alive by the time they got to Fort Wayne. So it's kind of a tough one for me to think about, But I think within a half hour after I got to the Heart Institute, the cardiologist spoke with them and he said, hey, I think we could pull him through. And so that was the first positive news they got, which is awesome to hear that they at least stopped that day. I never woke up that day, and I have some pics with all the tubes in me, which it's kind of freaky to look at, but I'm just so grateful for so many things. I know we make plans in our life, and we think, I've always said God willing when I talk about things in the future, and now I know why. But we make plans, which we have to, but we never know when things are just going to completely change like that. And I am so blessed and so thankful for this second chance, and I hope God uses me somehow for His glory, which I think that's the reason I'm still here. And again, I'm so grateful, and thanks for listening. God bless.